All right, John, good stuff there on the Eagles preseason game. Now the week ahead, Johnny Mack, all sights have been set on Makai Lemon returning. He almost returned last week, started to get out there a little bit at practice, still hasn't been full speed, still hasn't seen a preseason snap. All eyes, John, to me, in this final week are on Makai Lemon. Can he finally get on the field? If he doesn't get on the field this week, then I think you're starting to look, boy, week one could be unlikely for Makai Lemon to be a big part of the offense or even the wide receiver 3 in that week. So we'll see what ends up happening there. But week number 3 or final week here of training, I guess it would be week 4 because the first week they didn't have a preseason game. But final week here of full training camp. And J-Mac, what's top of mind for you? I just told you what's top of mind for me.
Well, definitely Makai. I mean, you hit that nail on it. I expect him to be out there today. No ifs, ands, or buts. If he's not out there today, that's a problem. And by that, I mean team drills. Now, I don't think they'll start him out with a full, a full plate of team reps. Certainly not with the first team. He'll have to mix back in. But if he's not out there today in team drills, that's an issue. So I expected today DeVonta as well, which not much concern there. So definitely the biggest story heading to the final days of camp is Makai Lemon. He's been out since early August, about 3 weeks. Right now, if you project week 1, luckily it's a little bit later than it usually is, so you have some extra time. You're going to have basically, after cut down, you're going to have basically a full 2 weeks to get ready for that game. So, I expect him to be at least a contributor in week 1 because this is not a situation where it's a rotational position. So I don't expect, again, a full boat of first team reps by week 1, but I do expect him to be involved. If he's not, that's going to be a disappointment.
I agree with that. I mean, I want to see them get out there. John, I want to push you on something. All right, I want to challenge you on something. Something you've said consistently throughout the offseason here, throughout training camp with DeVonta Smith missing is you have no concern. And I'm more with you from a sense of DeVonta is extremely talented. I don't think anybody's concerned about the talent. But when it comes to this new offense, that does seem to be taking time for people to get up to speed on. I heard Lane Johnson speak again about it. Yeah, I mean, they interviewed him during the game. Yeah, it's a new offense, a lot of new stuff for all of us. Jalen Hurts, new offense for Jalen Hurts, a lot of new stuff for Jalen Hurts, new offense for Saquon Barkley, all these other guys. Everybody's trying to adapt and prepare to run and play this new offense. DeVonta Smith is obviously every bit as talented to do it. But is him missing out on the preseason taking away or training camp here going to take away from some of the chemistry in the new offense that he could be building with Jalen Hurts right now? Could that be at all a problem early in the year when they try and get on the same page?
No. I mean, if anybody has chemistry with Jalen, it's Dallas and DeVonta with this group. So I don't worry about it from that perspective. For all and you're right, everything you just said, all the guys talking about it. And I'll be blunt here. DeVonta's honest. Other guys give you football speak.
Mm-hmm.
DeVonta is like, that's the terminology. All the concepts are basically football's football. He'll say it all the time. He said it 100 times over the years.
Yeah.
So the terminology is a little bit different. And obviously you can get that down from the mental stuff. My concern, my lack of concern is because of what he is as a player. And he's just, he's a high IQ player. He understands his job. He understands the position. And then, I've been saying this for a long time. Then I caught up with Aaron Moorhead just in passing, and he said the same thing about, Makai's got to get out there, but DeVonta's fine. He said the same thing.
Yeah, so everybody feels good about DeVonta.
Yeah. And they've been slow playing him. He could be out there. They've been slow playing him. He wants to be back out there. And it's been that way for over a week, probably. So they just want to make sure that it's good enough to where there's no chance it's aggravated. I mean, he has said it multiple times this offseason. It's just the terminology. What route in the route tree can you give DeVonta Smith that he can't do? Unless you're
I don't think that's the case. I mean, I just wonder if the more timing-based version of the offense, is different for Jalen to get on the same page with receivers, even if guys he's comfortable with. You're running a different setup. Is it all right? Let's get them. We got to get some reps here together. Not to say that they won't get it quicker than Jalen and most.
Yeah, and again, September 13th helps out a lot. He'll get plenty of opportunity. He'll be back out there today, I would assume, in team. So I think you'll have plenty of time, and he'll have better chemistry with DeVonta Smith than anybody else. Because it's funny, when you have good players, you tend to develop chemistry with them because they're good players and you trust them. So, yeah, I've never wavered. I'll probably never waver on that till he starts to decline physically, which is a long way away. So, I mean, he's just such a good football player. It's hard to, like, there's so many other things. Like, if I I mean, ultimately, I don't worry about the Eagles, but if it were my job to worry about the Eagles, I would spend very little time worrying about DeVonta Smith.
Yeah, I agree.
I'd have a list.
I do agree with that part.
I have a list, and he is so far outside that purview. Yeah, he's in fact, maybe I'll pitch that list to Jeff Kerr and say, who are the guys you least worry about? And I think he'd probably be number one. I'm trying to think, because Lane, you worry about the injuries, you worry about where he is, in his.
Smitty might be number one.
And I'm trying to think.
Mailata, maybe.
Yeah, Mailata would be up there, but I would put DeVonta ahead of him. Jalen would be up there. Jalen Hurts, but I put DeVonta ahead of him. Jalen Carter, obviously the talent is off the charts, but you do worry about some things. Jordan Davis, even. Zach Bond would be high on the list, but DeVonta would be ahead of him. Quinyon Cooper would be high on the list, but they're younger. DeVonta is been doing it longer. He'd be ahead of them. Yeah, I mean, I think he'd be one.
Saquon or Jalen? Who's higher?
Hurts. On that list, who do I worry about? Jalen a little bit more than Saquon. I don't worry about Saquon. Although, my worries about Saquon are about the offensive line. Like if you have a good offensive line, Saquon's going to be fine. But you saw last year, if you're struggling there, he needs some help. Can't do it by yourself. So, but if you're cooking up front, he's gonna deliver.
Fair enough. All right, John. Final week here. Roster cut down, if I'm not mistaken, is August 30th, right?
Yeah, 30th or 31st. Let me look.
The 30th is Sunday.
Yeah, it should be 30th then.
All right, so 30th is Sunday for roster cut down.
6 p.m. Sunday, August 30th.
Okay, so 6 p.m. Sunday, August 30th is the roster cut down. John, we've kind of built it already, piece by piece. 6 receivers, you say no, you have 5, correct?
Yeah, right now, yeah. I could
Offensive
change.
lineman, you thinking 9 or 10?
10.
10 offensive linemen. When it comes to edge, you got Hunt, Smith, Ebiketie, Epinesa, all of them, plus obviously Greenard. How many edges you keeping? 5? You good with those 5? You adding one more? What
I'm
do you
not.
say?
I'm keeping 5 and waiving Josh Weir.
Waiving Wiru, keeping 5. Defensive tackle, how many deep? 6 with Uar?
6 with Uar, yeah.
6 with Uar. Quarterbacks, Howie brought up, I'd be open to keeping 4. Might have been lip service. What do you think they do?
Yeah, I think it's lip service. Ultimately, Jalen, Cole, and whoever they don't trade.
So you are expecting a trade this week from
Yeah.
for a quarterback?
If they can't trade, I think they will try to get Cole Payton through waivers. I don't think they'll keep 4. I don't think there's any reason why they can't get Cole Payton through waivers and start him on the practice squad.
I was
and then
with their playing, with not letting him play.
And a lot of people don't understand the practice squad. A lot of people worry about, well, then somebody can sign him off your practice squad. Yes, but you are aware that they're trying to sign him off the practice squad. They did this years ago with Nate Sudfeld. You can simply elevate them at that point and say, no. Now, if you have a terrible relationship with the player, that's generally not the Eagles. The player might say, no, I want to go somewhere else, and there's nothing you can do about it. But 95% of the time, you're going to get the opportunity to say, all right, somebody else is going to pick you up. We're going to elevate you to the roster, and you just do it that way. So nobody is picking up Cole Payton. I mean, you got to have a bad quarterback situation to pick up Cole Payton. And that's a developmental project. That's not a guy.
I think people would like the trade stuff. That's the only thing I see with him. Like you always say, people, teams bet on
they
traits.
might like the trade stuff.
But the athletic traits, obviously,
Yeah.
and the gunslinger, stuff like that,
You can
could
start
a quarterback whisperer like a Kevin O'Connell or somebody like that say, "Oh, I can help him." I don't know. I'm not sure.
Well, that's a shitty quarterback situation. Arguably with Kyler Murray, but I think Kyler's going to have a bounce back season. But Carson Wentz should be the backup there, and I think he will be. So they're looking to move McCarthy. And then they'll need a third team quarterback. So you're right. Somebody like that, if they were able to pull off that trade, say that for that trade McCarthy, and they need a third team quarterback, they might consider picking up Cole Payton off on waivers. Think about how many things have to happen.
So then, do you think they would put him through waivers and just keep Dalton and McKay?
Well, that's what I'm saying. If they can't trade either, they are
right. So you're saying if they can't, they would just do it. They would just go that route.
They just put them
through
on.
waiver. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see what happens there. John, safety. Where's your thought process on safety? How many do they keep in? I don't know. Is it thin? Is it not? Do you feel better about it after 3 weeks of training camp and 2 preseason games? What's your thought process on safety right now?
I think it's the worst position on the team. So not great, but I mean, everything else on defense is so good. I think they'll be able to persevere.
Yeah, me too.
Right now, I'm thinking seriously, and again, I'll do my final initial 53 after the preseason game. Right now, I'm thinking they might only keep 3. And that would be Makuba, Epps, and Carter. And just, start if they can't.
That's the thing, John.
Well,
especially because Carter's going to be probably your backup at nickel too, isn't he?
Yeah. But
so if let's say let's just say worst case scenario, Carter's in at backup at nickel, and then you have a safety dilemma, a safety injury. I mean, then what?
Well, again, you'll hear Howie say this he talks to us every year after
Yeah, the
the
initial is
cuts.
just the initial, right?
Yeah. You'll hear him say not only the initial is just the initial. There'll be moves. I mean, the day after the cut is waivers, and you claim people on waivers, and then you can start building the practice squad. And you will hear Howie say 69, 70 people multiple times in that press conference, because the Eagles look at the roster 70, not 53. And by that, they will keep Goosh, and they will keep Andre Sam, and they will keep multiple bodies on the roster who can play safety. You know, they might have to put Cole Wisniewski on IR to stash him, but they might, if they want him to go through waivers, I think they could get him through. So you'll have multiple bodies who can play safety on the practice squad, and you elevate one of them for game day, and you do it that way early in the season. And they might acquire somebody from outside the organization via waivers or via trade. But right now, from the guys on the roster, unless Howie wants to keep Cole Wisniewski because he's a draft pick, or he wants to keep Goosh to say, look at me, I found this undrafted free agent. I would go light so I can add somebody somewhere else to start. And again, it's the initial 53. It's not the final 53.
Right,
How many
right,
times
right.
have I said that?
Yeah, you say it a lot. So much so that I've never once called it the final 53 in my show career. John McMullen has beaten it through my head. Good job there, John. All right. So some of the other positions, John, linebackers. Vic called it the deepest part of the roster. I'm more with you. I'm going to disagree. I'm going to rarely will I say I disagree with Vic. I think that defensive tackle room's a little deeper.
Defensive tackle's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous, is right. But linebacker, how many do you think they keep? What do you think Vic Fangio is thinking at linebacker? And Howie?
I think I think, certainly if it's up to Vic, they're keeping 5. And the 5th would be Chance Campbell. The 4 locks are Zach Bond, Jihad Campbell, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., and Small Munden. And then Chance would be the 5th guy. And he's a good player. He really is. Now he got hurt again. That's his issue, not being able to stay on the field. He had 32 reps in Foxborough. He was the top graded defender, 5 tackles. That dude can play. And Vic, when I asked him about him, Vic, that was the big quote that everybody picked up on, is that don't sleep on Chance, put him on your lists. He was talking about our 53.
Yeah, right.
Kind of hinting to us. If it's up to Vic, he's here. It's not up to Vic. And they can probably get him on the practice squad. So that's what Howie will say. We can get him through waivers. But right now I'm leaning towards keeping Chance. But I got to do the math, because you can't keep everybody. And that, you have to make some difficult cuts. And if you're keeping 3 quarterbacks, which I am, you're keeping 3 running backs, 4 tight ends, because I'm counting Latu there, 5 receivers, 10 offensive linemen, 5 edge defenders, 6 defensive tackles, 5 linebackers, 5 corners. What is that? And 3 specialists. So I got to add it up real quickly. So that's 3 quarterbacks, 3 running backs. That's 6, 4 tight ends. So that's 10, 5 receivers, 15, 10 offensive line gets you to 25, 5 edge gets you to 30, 6 defensive tackles gets you to 36, 5 linebackers, 41, 5 cornerbacks, 46, 3 safeties, 49, 2 specialists, 51. That gives you 2 extra spots to play with. Do you want to keep Jake Majors? Do you want to keep?
Well, who's battling on that offensive line? You said 10, and I'm with you on that. Who would be battling? Obviously, you have the starting 5, and then you have who are your locks at 6 and 7? Markel Bell.
Fred Johnson, Markel Bell, Drew
Okay,
Kendall,
that's 7. That's
Willie
8.
Lampkin, and Micah Morris.
9. That's 10. So you have Micah in.
Yeah. So, do you want to keep Jake Majors? Do you want to keep the 4 safety? Maybe Goosh or Wisniewski or Sam? Do you want to keep? Do you not want to go through the long snapper rigmarole and keep the long snapper? Do you want to keep an extra corner? You can keep Mac McWilliams on top of Keely Ringo. So that's, in my opinion, you have 2 spots to play with.
What's your level of certainty on Latu?
Pretty solid. Now, that's also a position. Again, I'm operating with who's here, how he's operating with who might be here. Could they find somebody better on waivers? Maybe. But I think he's a valuable player. He can line up at fullback. He can line up at tight end. You saw him on one of the flat passes. He can catch it a little bit. He's a good blocker. He's a good special teams player. I think there's a lot of value there. So as long as they don't look outside. But I mean, I hate to be so harsh with Eli Stowers, but he looks like a game day inactive for the foreseeable future.
I agree with you.
So
he didn't even look like he belonged on the field at some points.
I'm not going to go that far, but I do think he's got a long way to go. And I think he'll start the season as a guy who doesn't dress on game day. So your tight ends are going to be Dallas Goedert, Johnny Munt, and Cam Latu. I said safety was, and that might be the worst position on the team. But there's some upside, so you don't think of it that way. But in the immediacy, that might be the worst position on the team. Because the guys you're going to be playing, Munt and Latu, are limited.
We'll see what happens. Been a different offseason this year, John, than recent future for the Eagles and the rookies, hasn't it?
Yeah,
some fans don't know how to handle it, man.
Yeah,
they've gotten used to Cooper DeJean and Quinyon, DeVonta Smith, Jalen Carter. They've gotten used to these dudes, man. I don't know. We're looking at Makai Lemon and Eli Stowers and like, what the hell's going on out here?
Yeah, welcome to the other half. A lot of cities have to deal with that. It's not the end of the world, but it hasn't been a great start, great summer for Makai Lemon or Eli Stowers. Now, the positive is Markel Bell's getting a ton of hype. People are crowning him, to use Danny Green. I'm not that far, but he's looked good. So those are your premium picks. And yeah, Markel Bell looks like he's got a big upside, though. I'll tell you that. He's just enormous. And if he can figure out how to not let opposing pass rushers use that against him and leverage.
I mean, somebody's going to be smart enough to do it when you get to the starting lineup, but so far it looks like he handles his size pretty well, John, from a sense of leverage.
He's looked really good.
Yeah.
And he's got like the longest arms I can ever remember. I'm sure somebody at some point had longer arms, but his wingspan is, I got to look it up. He reminds me of Bryant McKinney, who I used to, Jersey kid, by the way, who went to Miami too, was a big time star at Miami. And he turned into not as he was supposed to be like a superstar offensive lineman. And he never quite developed into that, but he was a very good player for a very long time. And he was, I'm looking him up, he was 6'8". He had some weight issues at points when he was in Minnesota that hurt him. But he was a very good player for a very long time. He was the 7th overall pick in the draft, though, so he was expected to be like a, superstar offensive lineman. Wasn't quite that. But I always remember talking about him, and it was like getting around him was like getting around the, orbiting the freaking sun, because he was so big. And it's like, even if you beat him,
even if you blow by him,
it takes so long to get to the quarterback. That's what reminds me of Markel Bell. I see the same thing. Yeah, his wingspan, get this. His wingspan is 7'3 1/8. Like a 7'3" guy. So you can imagine you can beat him, and you're going so wide on the speed rush. It should be easy for Jalen to duck under and extend the play or do whatever he's going to do. So, I think where it'll hurt him more is in run blocking, where low man wins, especially short yardage. That might be an issue. But you can see he's got a really, really high ceiling as a player.
Yeah. I think he could turn out to be great. We'll see what it looks like. Obviously too early to go that far with him, but definitely positive early for Markel Bell, which is an exciting thing. I just saw someone in the chat. I don't know who it was. Sorry if I missed it, but he's like, he takes up half the TV screen. It's true. You look at the TV. He's on the offensive line. He's from the bottom of the screen to halfway up. He's so freaking tall.
Yeah, it's great when they get the Lampkin Bell picture.
Yeah, when Lampkin's
playing next to each other.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Yeah,
I love the way Lampkin plays, John, because he's so fundamentally sound. Because he has to be. He's been probably undersized.
How many times did I say on the show Eagles fans were going to fall in love with Willie Lampkin? How many times?
Ed Kratz, got to give Eddie Kratz credit too. He loved Willie early.
Well, Ed loves him because he's a wrestler.
Yeah.
I loved him because of the stuff you're seeing, and I know what the Rams fans did to him last year. They lionized him and turned him into a superstar because just how unique he is and how good he looks in preseason. I knew it was going to happen. It did happen. He's going to make the team. He's got, like you said, he's got a lot of gifts, but I mean, if he has to play against, big time defensive tackles, that's going to be interesting because the size will be a problem at some point.
Yeah. Fundamental and tough. That's two good things to have on the offensive line. I think Willie deserves some credit, which is good. We'll see what ends up happening at the rest of it for the team this year. But all right, John, big week of practice ahead then, man. We talked about the 53. That'll happen on Sunday. So last preseason game for any of these fringe players to make a mark, to make their case as to why Howie Roseman should keep them around. And then comes the practice squad, to see who they keep there. Now, people aren't as interested in that. I get it.
Well, they should be. That's what I'm saying. Listen to Howie. He's going to talk about
what do they do with Miles Hinton and Cam Williams? Are those guys just done?
No, they're going to keep.
You think they practice squad them?
Probably one of them. I wouldn't say both.
They haven't looked good, John.
Well, it's funny. I thought that, and Cam Williams gave up the game-ending sack, if you want to call it that. He actually got pretty decent grades. And when I was rewatching the game, I thought he was okay. He played quite a bit. He played 41 snaps. And he got really good grades. So to me, he's well ahead of Miles Hinton, who has not played well. So I think Miles Hinton is going to be tough. If you're keeping Micah Marshall, you're keeping at least 2 or 3 offensive linemen on the practice squad. So they could keep them both. They generally like to have an extra center And that depends. Are you keeping Majors? I don't think they are, so I think they'll get Majors back on the practice squad. So if you keep Majors, if you keep Cam Williams, they might even go out and get somebody else. See, Coral just got here, didn't look good. But, he got thrown into the deep end of the pool. So they'll definitely keep one of them, and they might even keep both. I think Cam would be more likely to be picked up on waivers, though, by somebody else.
We'll see what ends up happening with those guys. John, a positive note that I want to tell all Eagle fans, for those who didn't see it, if you watched the start of the game on Saturday, you saw a pretty scary start with Eagles' JaQuindon Jackson going down, needing to be stretchered off. He was barely moving, did put his hand up on the way off. Great news came out that he was able, John, to get out of the hospital and travel back with the Philadelphia Eagles team on the team plane on Saturday night. So very positive that JaQuindon Jackson was able to get out of the hospital and travel back with the team. You see those injuries, John, they look really scary, and you hope for the best. So good news on JaQuindon Jackson for those who didn't see that.
Yeah, obviously you never want that to happen to anybody. It was good early in the night. His agent put out that he had feeling in all his extremities. So that's number one. You're hopeful for that. But to be able to get out so quickly and return with the team was a positive as well. One thing, and it's good, but it can often be scarier. They're a lot more cautious these days than they used to be in the years past. So, if there's any question, they're gonna take you off, and they're gonna limit your mobility to make sure they're checking every box, every possible box. From looking at the replay, it looked like he got a helmet to the head. So again, concussions are never good, but in that situation, that's the best case scenario. If he gets even diagnosed with a concussion, we'll see, probably get that information today. We will. And that was obviously a positive, because that's the one thing you don't want to see in preseason, guys going down. And, you think about normally in a football sense, guys going down for the season, that's bad enough, but you don't want anybody with significant health issues, which happens in this game, unfortunately. So good news there.
No doubt. JaQuindon Jackson, good news. We were excited. I was excited to see that. That looked nasty. I hate seeing that, especially in preseason. You hate seeing it at any time of the year, but especially in preseason when the games don't count or don't matter as much. They might not count. They all matter, but they don't all count, and that's the preseason for you.
Well, you don't have to win. They're trying to win.
Right.
Yeah, people say, that's contradictory. No, it's not. You have a plan of who you got. Like, people will say, well, if the Eagles were trying to win, they would have left Tanner in there. No, that was not the plan. The plan was to get Cole some work, but they're trying to win with that plan. They're trying to win, but
I didn't like the way they managed Cole Payton at all.
Well, I don't like it either.
Not get reps. It's the preseason. You're giving me Andy Dalton. We all know what Andy Dalton is.
Yeah, well, I don't agree with it.
Cole Payton. I mean, come on.
I don't agree with it either. But where I disagree with your assessment is that Andy started the game. Andy Dalton has nothing to do with the 13 quarterback reps. The keeping Tanner in as long as they did, if you want to see more Cole Payton, that's the issue. You're not chopping off the starter in the game. You got to chop the length of the backup. And Tanner played a heck of a lot of snaps, and he played well. But in preseason, you're trying to win, but you're not saying, oh, we look crappy, like in Baltimore the week 4. We look crappy, so we have to change our plan of who's going to play. You don't do that, because it's not it doesn't count the standings. So you have a plan and you stick to the plan, and you want to evaluate as many people as you can evaluate.
Yeah. I just think you take a quarterback like that. I mean, like, where else do you develop them? Like, those are the times to let him, develop and see some action.
Well, I would have played him a ton.
57
I
seconds.
expected them to play Andy a quarter, Tanner a quarter, and Cole the second half. I expected him to play a whole half. He might get the whole game on Friday, and maybe that's their plan. And say, last year, I believe in the third game they let Kyle McCord play the whole game.
Well, some people are saying that they think they're maybe trying to sneak him onto the practice squad. Yeah, I'm sure McMullen's not buying that. They're not putting him out there because they don't want the league to see the greatness of Cole Payton, John. They got to get him on the practice squad.
Well, waivers is a thing every year. I try to talk people off. You're probably going to have 40 guys claimed somewhere. It's usually under that. Think about that.
Yeah,
everybody's got to go.
Entire league. Yeah,
everybody's got to go.
What? How many people are getting cut average per roster?
Yeah, you're going from 90 to 53. So most teams are full. A couple will get cut early. So you 37 times 32. Any math wizards out there? I got to get the calculator.
It's a lot. It's over 900. I knew I would say that.
And 40 of them will get claimed, which is a little bit over one per team.
1184, J-Mac. That's a lot of players. That's a lot of players.
Yeah, 1184 are hitting the street, and Howie Roseman and his staff have to evaluate all of them. Yeah. So it is one of the most overrated things, but I'll tell you, as long as I do this, I say it every year, and everybody worries about waivers. Oh, you can't get this guy through waiver. You can't get this guy through waivers. And you're going to lose. And I would have this discussion with Mike Kay all the time when he was in town with Noah Tungiai, because, he was incensed, that the Eagles lost Noah Tungiai. And I say, all right, they'll be fine. And they got Noah back 3 times, I think. He came back 3 times. It's just, when you're talking about guys for that 53rd spot, back, Mike and I also had a thing about Eli Ricks. Eli, by the way, got a tryout with the Pittsburgh Steelers yesterday. So shout out to Eli Ricks. Eli was famous for that pick 6 in Baltimore against the 4th-string quarterback, and rode that to basically a 2-year career in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And I at the time said, well, they should keep Mekhi Gardner because, I'm the special teams guy. And I'm like, he helps more on special teams. And Howie was concerned that he would lose him through waivers, Eli Ricks, because of that interception. And I would bet if you sat down with Howie, now nobody cares because it's such a deep, not relevant move. So nobody's going to ask him off the record, but he would probably admit that was a mistake. They could have gotten him through waivers. But, teams don't get to see practice. The Patriots got to see the Eagles practice twice, but they don't get to see the, what are we, 12 here? They don't get to see the 12 practices. So they don't know who's playing well and who's playing poorly. And that's every other team. So they do look at the preseason games. And if you make a splash play, especially with the poorer organizations, they might overvalue that. So there's something to that, but I do think that Cole Payton might get the whole game on Friday night.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see what that looks like. John, what has emerged to you? I want you to forget about any season after 2027. So nothing after this year. 20, what are we in? 26? 26, sorry. Sorry.
I forget what year it is all the time.
All right. But any year after this upcoming year, forget about it. All right. What's a bigger concern for this season for you? Jonathan Greenard or Makai Lemon?
It's interesting. I mean, my first impulse is to say Makai Lemon, but I might be more worried about Jonathan Greenard because the Eagles haven't been above board with the injury. So I don't know what the injury is. Like if it's a torn pec, that's going to impact him well into the season. So other than Vic Fangio doing what he's not supposed to do and keep pushing back the timetable. But if it is just a strain pack and Jonathan Greenard's going to be healthy by, whatever, week 4, whatever, then it ships to Makai Lemon. From just a pure playing standpoint, I'm much more concerned about Makai Lemon than Jonathan Greenard. But I don't know what the freak is going on with Jonathan Greenard, other than he was really disappointed. So I'm starting to put those pieces together, and that he was extremely disappointed when he got hurt lifting, because he wanted to prove himself in a new situation, yada, yada, yada. And it was much more serious than what the Eagles first indicated when they alerted us to the injury. So I don't know what his injury is. If it's a strained pack, everything should be fine. If it's more than that and it was a partial tear, that could affect him for half the season.
Yeah, that's trouble.
But from a pure football perspective, it's not even close. It's Makai Lemon. I mean, I don't know what Makai Lemon is.
Yeah, right.
And to be honest, the brief little snippets that we got of him weren't great. So,
which was what, the first 3 practices, right? He didn't practice much. Maybe
he practiced a couple times in the spring before he got hurt, and then a couple times here before he got hurt. So very small snippet, but if you remember, it wasn't great. So, and he's not typically when you talk about receivers in the top 20, they're these super athletes. He's not really that. So, from an injury standpoint, I'm more worried about Greenard. From a playing standpoint, it's not even close. I'm more worried about Lemon.
Yeah, well, we'll see what ends up happening. My concern with the Greenard is growing, especially when I listen to Vic Fangio. I'm like, oh, that doesn't.
Well, that
doesn't sound very good.
Because when they played that down, when they first, it was like we're expecting back in a couple weeks.
Yeah, right.
That bullshit.
And then Vic hits the podium and he's like, we're not going to see him for a while.
I mean, we'll bring Caden on here. We'll ask. I mean, I'll get his thought. When it first came out, Jonathan Greenard's injury, I mean, I was like, yeah, we'll see him in a couple of weeks. And then all of a sudden, Vic keeps dropping